upstairs. I did it till my phone died.
3, 2, 1, we are live.
Hi, folks. Sorry for being late. His fault. Take a bow, Frick. We're late. No, we're not late. Well, we didn't get to film. Was it last week? I didn't have any voice. Don't have a whole lot now. 2 weeks ago. It's been hanging on that long. Anyway, apologize. So tonight it's Ask Me Anything, and I got a big announcement to make. I'll wait a little bit to do it. Fire away, Frick. Have you got any questions?
Yep.
Fine, give me one.
This one comes from Alan Peake in Western Sydney, Australia.
Hey, Alan.
Could you please explain the 3-4-5 rule in cabinet dimensions?
No. No, I can't. I don't do cabinets. I do furniture. 3-4-5 is square. So if you measure over 3 feet, then go 4 feet, this dimension, the long side should be 5 feet. But I don't use it. So I apologize. I can't give you any help with that. What a way to start, huh?
This one goes from Rob in Spruce Grove, Alberta.
Hi, Rob.
Near Edmonton.
I know it.
What are your thoughts on working with hickory wood?
Ooh, hard. I can't even remember the last time I used hickory.
Almost too hard.
Well, it's not too hard. I mean,
No,
if you need something, my criteria is what's it look like. Then number 2 is how difficult is it to work. So if I'm going to bust my butt on planing and chiseling and sawing, it better be fantastic. And I wouldn't call hickory fantastic. Yeah. I just did this little cabinet with it's English brown oak on the exterior and the veneer, but the solid stuff is white oak, and that was hard enough. It's just, there's woods like walnut and cherry and mahogany that are just a lovely mild wood to plane, to saw, to chisel. I'm not avoiding the extra work, but like I said, is it worth the effort? Well, if you're really into it, it is. If you're not, well, there's prettier woods. Next, Rick.
This one comes from John Adams in the chat.
Hi, John.
In Denver, Colorado.
In Denver. Been there numerous times.
Where do you source your high-quality hinges? Can you please list your vendors?
Oh. So if you're talking brass hinges, pardon? Where do we get our
brass? Is he talking brass or is he talking
high quality hinges? So I don't know if you're talking brass or 32 mil. If you're talking 32 millimeter, the concealed hinges, the stuff that everybody uses today that are quick release and adjustable in multiple different directions. Up here in Canada, we get it usually from Richelieu Hardware, which is a fairly large wholesale supplier. Brass hinges. So the last brass hinges we used were on the tool cabinet that we're trying to give away. And did we go through 2 different, where did they come from? Barusso?
Brasso?
I thought it was Brusso. And I don't remember where they actually came from. I mean, do an internet search, but I've never found any brand that I thought was wow fantastic, which is why I usually try to use a wood hinge. But I know Woodcraft carries some of it. There's lots of. You just have to do a search and you can find it. But if you want to buy it and you're going to have questions, make sure you buy it from somebody who can answer the questions. We get people that contact us wanting to know something about something they bought, and they bought it from Amazon, or they're calling us to ask for the answer. So be considerate. If you expect to have to ask questions, then buy it from somebody that you know is going to be able to answer those questions if you need it. I can say that because I don't sell brass hinges. Next, Rick.
Next one's from Mark Forcell in the chat.
Hey, Mark.
He says, does it make a difference what type of wood you use on a Moxon vise?
Does it make a difference what kind of wood you... Well, the early prototypes I did, we used pine. And if you look at this, this is the mini. That piece is thick enough, the front piece, the two jaws are thick enough that why wouldn't pine work? It's not going to flex on you. You're only using this to hold something. You're not trying to make it skinnier by squeezing the life out of it. So I would say you can use any wood you want, soft or hard. We use poplar on the ones that we sell because it's a hardwood. People recognize it as hardwood, and it's moderately priced. And it's relatively easy to work. So, unlike this piece, this jaw on my shoulder vise, there's a lot of stress. Even though you're not putting a ton of weight on it, there's a lot of stress on that joint, on that piece of wood. So, and in keeping with the bench, it was made out of maple, but I think you could get away with just about anything. Next, Rick.
This one comes from Jim Rogacheski.
Jake, are you keeping track of the vets that are on there? Good.
Jim Rogacheski in
Jim?
Derry, Pennsylvania.
Is his name Jim?
Jim, yeah.
And he's in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
I know him.
Have you ever cut veneers with a table saw? And where does somebody buy veneers?
Who's the name of that supplier that...
That you use? I don't remember.
So we just bought a big bunch of veneer. We got some Macassar ebony. We got some... What did we buy? English brown oak, Macassar ebony, and fiddleback ash. So I got it through Mel at Exotic Woods in Burlington, Ontario. And he got it through someone in the US, and that's all they do is veneers. And I apologize, I can't remember the name of it, but if you contact Mel, he can get it for you. I don't know whether they retail or not. Maybe they just wholesale. Again, do a search. But if you can't find it, go to find Exotic Woods in Burlington, Ontario, and tell them you're looking for a veneer. They'll get you whatever you want. Greatest supply of wood that I know of. If you're a wounded vet that has been to one of our classes, that would make you a PHP alumni. You could have been in one of any of the 33 classes that we've had. So one of any of the 220 or so soldiers that have been through our program. And you're on here tonight. Please give us, put a little note. How are you having them identify themselves, Jake? Jake at?
They just have to list what class they do.
Yeah, just go in the chat. Say your combat wounded vet has been to our class. Tell us what class you were in. Jake will spot you and we'll give you a shout out. But I also have an announcement for you guys. We'll do when the numbers are up. Next, Rick. By the way, I didn't say it, but we do this in support of our Purple Heart Project. This is something Jake and I started in November of 2016. And it was an attempt to help combat wounded veterans suffering mostly from PTSD and physical injuries handle the stress of that battlefield scars leave. I didn't know anything about it, what I'm talking about. I didn't know at the time anything that I'm telling you about now, but there's such a thing as called distractive therapy. And woodworking, hand tool woodworking in particular, not only is it creative, but it's a wonderful material, and the process absorbs you, and it takes everything, all of your faculties, in order to do it and do it well. So we reached out to 7 combat wounded vets. See if I can name them. Rob White from North Carolina. I could do better than that. Hold on a second. Just a second.
The Colonel.
Yeah. Andy Nichols, Lieutenant Colonel from Texas. Philip Gustafson from New York. Rick, what was Rick's last name?
Blair.
Rick Blair, who was active duty, he was serving in Korea at the time. Brad Matichuk.
Yeah, manager.
Where's Brad from?
Like Wisconsin, I think.
Okay. Was Marshall in that class?
Mm-hmm.
Marshall Rommel from Seattle area. What am I at, 6?
Yeah.
Oh, Greg Hairston. Greg was from, I think Greg's from Pennsylvania.
No. Memphis.
Memphis. Is that all 7?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's 10 years ago. So that was the beginning, that was the first class. Had no idea what we were getting into. Remember telling Jake, don't turn your back on them. Don't know what might happen to us. We didn't know anything. Pardon me while I turn my ringer off. And you might want to answer that in case she knows we're in the middle of it, so she's traveling home. She may need something, Jake. We did it in Niagara Falls, Ontario. We rented a place called Heartland Forest. Great bunch of people up there. Found a hotel that was really good to us. Numerous restaurants. One in particular that I think of fondly was name it, Jake. Place we used to love to go to. Named after a lady's name.
Oh yeah, Betty.
Betty's. Down in what's in the song that? What's the name of it, please?
I don't know
The community is in. You know that song that?
Chippewa.
Chippewa. It's in Chippewa, Ontario. You know, from the Gordon Lightfoot song, Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Anyway, they used to feed them for free. And that was the first class. And then Woodcraft came on board and helped us. And the gal in the front office actually came up with the name, the Purple Heart Project. Luther came on board. And it's grown from there. So we now do 6 classes a year. We do one in April, May, June, and July. And then one in September and October. Speaking of which, I think we just filled the May. Oh. April's full. October's full. July's full. June's full. I think there may possibly be yet a spot in May if you're interested. And there's one spot at least in September. Class runs from, so pardon me, let me explain. In every class, there's 7 combat wounded veterans that come in as our guests, because we all kick in to take care of them. And then there's 7 spots. We call them civilian spots, but they're for paying customers. And we fly the vets in on the Saturday before. Usually we fly them into Bangor, Maine. And then they put them up in a hotel there so that when we go down on Sunday, everybody's made it. We drive them up. It's about a 3-hour drive. So we arrive here Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, 7 o'clock. We have a beautiful, what would you call it, Moose? Feast. Anita and Megan and Jake and Megan and Kim and Erica, Carloe, all kick in and put on a beautiful spread. It's fantastic. Oh, and my grandson, Lincoln, that barbecues the chicken. He's following his father's footprints. Little frickin' good chicken. And it's a great time. Anyway, we start Monday morning about 7, and each day is 7 till 10. We break at 10 a.m. for breakfast, which is awesome. We break again at 5 for supper, and then we're back in the shop until 10 p.m. We do that until Saturday night. And in that time, we cover all of the basics of hand tool woodworking, from sharpening to planing to dimensioning lumber, cutting dovetails, cutting mortise and tenon joints, familiarity with all of the hand tools. Try to give you the skills required to build a piece of furniture like it was 200 years ago. If that interests you, there are still a couple of classes, but the website keeps showing it as being full. I found this out last night. I contacted Luther. Is Luther on tonight?
Yeah.
Ask Luther, will you post what classes are available? I just had a fellow that I think he's claiming the May spot. So anyway, but unless it's paid for, it's considered open. So just post on there if you would, please. Cost us 300. Last year was 350,000 US. Last year, our 9th year, was the first year, thanks to my friend John in Florida, who came to the rescue at the last minute. We actually got the whole year paid for. And donations have been fantastic. Santa Claus kicked in 6 weeks ago, and we set a record when we raised $185,200 in one of these events. So you're welcome to make contributions. And we're a registered 501c3 in the United States and a registered nonprofit in Canada, so we can provide you with tax receipts. And if you'd like to make it, actually what we're looking for, pardon me, I keep forgetting this. Instead of one-time donations, it's very hard to plan when you don't know what you've got. What we ask people to do now is to make, what is it called, please? Recurring donations. It's available on the website. Frick will put in the link. And then then we at least know, okay, we've got X number of dollars coming in each month. This is how much extra we have to find. And we're open to corporate donations. There's organizations that we just had I want to tell them the last little story about Jake. The Geek, what's it called? Geek Navy. What's the chap's name, the soldier's name?
Kevin.
Maybe he doesn't want to use his last name. Kevin, who owns a company called Geek Navy, and we're going to start selling his product. Kevin contacted us, loves what we're doing. He works for Hershey Chocolates. Hershey will match any donation. So we're receiving $1,000 a month from Kevin and his employer. Awesome. And then Kevin makes this really cool graph paper that we're about to start selling. It'll have our logo on there. And the graph does not show up when you photocopy it. So you can do your drawing with the graph, and then when you photocopy it, it disappears. Not your drawing, the lines. Anyway, so he's giving us 10% of the proceeds of his sales that he does through eBay. I think it's through eBay. Just generosity over the top. All right, so that's the Purple Heart Project. Help us out. We'll give away some nice prizes. For every 10 recurring payments we receive each time, we give away about a $300 prize. Usually a dovetail saw, a plane, something like that. All right, Frick, sorry it's taken so long. Back.
Super Westman in the chat.
Hello, Super Westman.
He says, hey, Rob, I've been meaning to ask, when do you use staples versus nails?
Well, when do I use? Staples aren't very neat because if you're near the edge, they usually pull a piece of wood up with them, but they do have superior holding power. I don't use, in a piece of furniture like this, which is the most recent thing I did, the only metal, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake. Oh, I just saw some. So I've got two little stops that are held in place with a screw and glue, and there's always one screw in a slot holding the solid wood drawer bottom in place. Other than that, there is no metal.
You screwed on the feet.
Oh, did I? Well, that's what I said. So the feet are screwed up from the bottom. Oh yeah, I had to in order to allow for seasonal movement, because this is solid wood. So this is going to expand like that, and the bottom runs the opposite way, so you had to allow for that. So as far as when was the last time I used nails? I use it all the time, but on a piece of furniture. If you're maybe thinking about putting the back on a cabinet, I much prefer, especially unless it's going to be up against the wall permanently, if there's any chance it's going to be out from the wall where it can be seen, then I prefer to dress it up. So here's an example. There's the back of that, which is, it's tucked in nice and neat. Nothing gets shown. It looks finished. I prefer to do something like this. There's the back of this little cabinet, which is a solid piece of wood. Now there's two brass screws because, again, you have to allow for the seasonal expansion. But I wouldn't use staples or brad nails in an application like that. So if it's a cabinet going against the wall, your staples are your better solution as far as holding power. And if you're just trying to put a piece of trim on somewhere and you can't clamp it, but you just want something to hold it until the glue dries, then that little 20, what gauge is that, Jake?
18.
Eight,
20.
no, 23 gauge headless pin. Here, I can't even see it, but it'll hold it in place. So power, staple, appearance, Brad. Anybody say hello to Jake?
Well, I just wanted to point out that Kevin from Geek Navy is on.
Oh, Kevin's on?
Yeah.
Kevin, thank you, brother. Really appreciate your support.
His name's Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
And I can say that because he used that as his
Oh.
username.
Kevin Smith. And Kevin works at Hershey Chocolates, but he has a business that he makes. Well, we'll talk more about it when we actually introduce it, which will be quite soon. Frick, give me another question, and then I want to introduce this thing that we have for the vets.
Okay, so John Adaskin
Hi, John.
in the chat says, is there a way to widen the miter slots on my job site saw? It's an aluminum top. Thanks.
Are there ways to widen my miter gauge slots? Frick.
On my job site saw.
So it must be a table saw,
It's an aluminum top, he says.
and it's an aluminum top, and he wants to widen the miter gauge slots. Wow. If I had that situation, I'd figure out a way to make whatever you're trying to put in the slot narrower. That would be a lot easier than widening the slot. But it is aluminum, so you could do it easily with a router and a carbide bit. Set up a fence that you're running, and you're going to go against, don't climb cut, meaning don't have the bit spinning in the direction that you're moving. You want the bit spinning and cutting against the rotation. The rotation going against the direction of the cut. Take a small amount, but that would be easy to do if it's an aluminum top. But you want to have, then you got to have both exactly the same. I would fix the miter gauge slot, but that might be hard too. I've never been asked that before, obviously. So, Jake, tell me who's on.
You're gonna have to give me a couple of minutes.
All right, I'll keep going then. So let me tell you where I am with this announcement. The money that we raised for the Purple Heart Project is designated for the Purple Heart Project, which is we bring in 42 combat wounded veterans each year from all over the world. We've had 2 come from Australia, we've had 2 from Denmark, we've had 1 from Ireland. The majority are from the United States, about 10% from Canada. And we're just paying our bills, so there wasn't any extra money there. But for several years, 3 or 4 anyway, maybe even longer, I have wanted to, because what I noticed is a lot of these guys come, they take the class, they really get turned on to woodworking, and then they end up starting a business out of it. I can think of several, I won't bother naming them, but there's a lot of them. There's a handful, I could make a list. And I wanted to give them something. Okay, we taught them the basics. For the guys that are really sinking their teeth into this, what can I do to help them further? And so I tried a drawer making workshop. So we listed it last year. 2 of them didn't fill either one, and none of the vets signed up for it. Did it again this year, and we had to cancel it because we only had 2 people in it. And I thought, okay, so obviously there's an expense issue there. So I said, okay, how can I find the money to do this? What I want to do is I want to offer the soldiers that want to come back, they have to qualify. I want to cover their airfare, I want to cover their accommodations, their food, their tuition, and their materials. In other words, it doesn't cost them a nickel to be here. They already have the tools. We gave them the tools when they came the first time. So, figured it all out. I think we thought it was going to cost around $5,000 per, something like that. Okay, so, and I wanted to have 12 in the class, so that's $60,000. So where am I going to come up with the money? So I have a friend I have asked his permission to use his last name, but I haven't got it yet, so I'm just going to call him John, and he's in Florida.
Can we say like John in Southwest Florida or something? Be a little more descriptive.
No.
Too many Johns in Florida.
Well, lots of Johns in Florida. Well, they'll know who this John is because he's donated a lot of money to our cause. So I didn't want to go knocking on his door begging for money again, but I knew, you know what, he must know people that would be interested in this cause. I mean, I think of Santa Claus and how much he's helped us. There's we've got, and there's another John in Florida that's helped us tremendously too. So it's tons of generosity. It's fantastic. Anyway, so I called John on the phone and then I sent him a text or an email. I said, this is what I want to do. Do you know anybody? How can I go about doing this? And I don't know, wasn't that many hours. She texted me back. She says, Rob, I'll cover it. Wow. So big, huge thank you to John in Florida. We will have a class. The date is going to be October.
I think it's 6 to 11.
6 to 11. Means we'll bring you in on the 4th. And it'll be a 6-day class. It is going to be a drawer making, an intermediate drawer making workshop. There will be room for 12. Can you find out from Luther if those 2 other spots, if those 2 other guys moved?
I know one of them did.
One did? Okay, so we may have room for 1 special civilian that gets to come, but we're talking about 12 spots for combat wounded vets that are alumni. They have to have had one of our training the hand classes. We're going to do a drawer making workshop. Now, it's going to look something like this. Bear in mind, the criteria is you got to be able to cart it home with you. It's got to be doable in a week, and I know we're going to be burning the midnight candle. We will build the case, and you can't make perfect drawers if you don't have a perfect case. So you already have the skill, or we've taught you how to sharpen and use your plane and your chisels, and you know how to saw. You know how to cut through dovetails, you know how to cut half-blind dovetails. Now what we're going to do is we're going to apply those skills in an organized manner to actually produce something of a high level of craftsmanship. We will build the case. You can have your option on the corner joint, whether you use mitered edge dovetails or half-blind or through dovetails, whatever. Through wedge tenons. I think we'll give you the option on the through wedge tenons or a dado because time is going to be critical. And then we'll learn to build a drawer. The drawer will have drawer slips in it. That's those pieces on the bottom that increase the wear surface. Half blinds in the front, through dovetails in the back. It'll be built with that kind of precision that we brag about that allows you to close that effortlessly. We are going to provide you, when you come, you will have all of the material that's already been milled, meaning you'll have the sides and the top, out of whatever wood it is. We'll give you 1 or 2 options. And it'll be flat and dimensioned. You're going to have to take it to length and to width, shooting board work. All the pieces of the drawer will be the same way. You're essentially going to have to true everything up and then execute the joints. Now, how do I pick 12 out of the 220 soldiers that have been to our program? So there's going to be an exercise that you have to qualify with. I will, in a little bit of skin in the game, you're going to send me $25. And that $25 is going to pay for the material, and we're going to send it to you in a box that you will then create this little project and send it back in the same box. And we were going to do it on a numbering system. I won't know who the number's attached to. Every one that comes in will be numbered, and then we will pick the 12 best. And that invitation will be extended to those 12 individuals. And if you don't make it, I hope to continue to do this. You can apply as many times as you want if you end up needing more practice. So you're going to have 2 pieces of poplar and 2 pieces of walnut. Essentially, you're going to make a drawer minus the drawer bottom. I'm not going to have you do that because you don't have it, and it's just, I want to keep it somewhat simple. What I'm looking to discover is, what has he or she done with the skills we taught them? Have they progressed? Do they have nice clean joints? Do they know how to read and work to a set of measurements? In other words, I expect this to be this wide, this long, this thick, finished right from the plane, no sanding, I can tell. And I will closely examine your joints because they better look really good, at least in the top 12. Half blinds in the front, through dovetails in the back. I just haven't assembled, I assembled this one, I was just leaving that open for show. Okay? So that's how it's going to work. If you're interested, you need to contact us, and we'll tell you. This is very preliminary, but I'm trying to pull everything together. It took us a week and a half just to figure out what day, what week we could actually do it. Hopefully Luther's going to be here, and his wife, Jake, myself. Erica's going to handle the meals for us. We're only going to do one. We're only going to provide one meal, one good hearty lunch. That means we're on our own for supper. But I know Frick will come down a couple times during that week and do barbecue, right, Frick?
Sure.
I already asked Anita for do a big pot of stew for us one night. So it's not going to be the experience, the food experience that you had during Purple Heart training, but we'll get you fed, and we can always boil some eggs in the morning. It's mostly to work. We're going to work. We're going to learn to do this. We're going to have a blast. I'm looking forward to it because the 12 people that come, I already know. Old friends coming back to reunite. It's going to be awesome. Am I forgetting anybody? You and I and Luther. Frick will be around. Ken will be here. So I hope that excites you. I think, you know what, if is John on tonight?
Convoy, not that I know of. Or Hayes, who are you talking about?
John in Florida I'm talking about.
Which? John, southwestern Florida?
I'm talking about the John in Florida who is the one that's helping us do this, the reason
Not
we're able to
with
do
the-
this.
Well,
Yeah. I emailed him earlier and said, can I use your name? But I haven't heard back from him. So now, who can I give a shout out to?
Well,
Are they hearing you or you don't have a mic?
I got a mic right here. You can't give a shout out because
Why?
there's too many.
No, I don't care.
Yeah, it'll take up the rest of the night.
I don't care. Give me the names.
I'm just gonna keep listing them.
Just
give
don't
me-
tell a story that you tell every week about each one. Just go.
I'll just repeat their name. You say it, and then I'll go. Let's hear it. I'm thrilled at this. You gonna start?
Yeah, John Beck,
John,
Danny
Vietnam. Danny Bell, helicopter.
Wally Rao,
Wally, brother. I'm so sorry to hear about the passing of your wife. You have my condolence, brother. Next.
Tiny Payne,
Tony Payne, all the way down in Australia.
Brent Nelson,
Brent. How can I say Brent without saying slowest dovetail in the world? The world. You've moved up.
okay, it's Brent.
You can be a little faster.
Nathan, it's because I get more adding. Nathan Hoffman,
Nate,
Kev Burrs,
Kev, buddy. We haven't
Ralph.
talked in a long time. Call me, Kev.
Ralph Sutton,
Ralph, big Ralph. Ralph's going to be here. Ralph's coming to be my assistant.
Michael High,
Hi, Mike.
Kev Smira,
Kev Smira. There's the flag right there.
Sean McDermott,
The Sean Shim.
Sean. Next, Mike Cook,
Mike Cook, local. Mike's over in Amherst, Nova Scotia.
Charlie Morales,
Hey, Charlie, right here. There's Charlie.
Kyle.
Who?
Next,
Who?
Derek Bolden,
Who's Kyle going to get to cut his dovetail?
Morgan,
More.
John. I said Derek.
Derek? Yep, Derek was here. Derek's my assistant.
John Hayes.
Charlie Ray, thank you. Pardon? John Hayes?
John Hayes.
John Hayes. Could we stand John Hayes for another week? I could. What about you?
I could stand it if he can stand it.
John.
Casper.
Jake's so mean. John Hayes has no legs.
Casper.
Jake said, I could stand it if he could stand it. Oh, you're funny, Jake.
Casper.
Casper. Way over in
Okay.
I know, we have to keep going. Over in Denmark. Casper's coming over too. Casper's coming in April, right?
Yeah.
Casper's gonna be my assistant in April. Pardon?
His flight's booked.
Flight's booked.
Boom Boom.
Boom, boom, he's on?
Yeah. Luther Jr.
Keep going.
Michael Miller.
Michael and his daughter Tori.
Matt Olson.
Matt.
Pinky.
Pinky. I think of Pinky often on the back far corner.
Patrick Glynn.
Patrick. Just saw his picture today.
Phil Lawrence.
Phil. Saw his picture too.
Craig Miller.
Craig. Saw your picture too.
Aaron Croft.
Aaron? Where's Aaron?
I'm
Oh,
using
you got my pen.
Jim Eakin.
So, whoa, hold on. And Jim, too. This is great. Oh, where'd those pens go? Aaron, thank you so much for that. So, you'll see these soon. Fantastic. My favorite pen. And did you just say Jim Eakin? Golden Eye? My best story ever heard.
Doc Bailey.
Doc Bailey, Vietnam. Corman.
Dom Chavez.
Dom, I was just with Dom and John and a bunch of them actually down in Greenville just a couple weeks ago. Dom, excellent craftsman.
Jake Province.
Jake,
Jonathan Sidney.
good old Sid. Sid, you know what? Sid's rescued my butt so many times. Sid's a local, lives in Fredericton. My wife's truck broke down on her way up to take care of Bo, and Sid came to the rescue. Got me a piece of plywood so we could sleep up there. Awesome. Sid works here.
Dr. Jeffrey P. O'Connor.
Dr. O'Connor. Jeffrey.
Michael Delvoye.
Michael.
Jacob Tortilla.
Jake. Jake was with us down in Greenville as well. Good to see you again, Jake.
Joe Bright.
Joseph Bright. Joseph was there as well. Joseph is a hero. Bonafide. I read the commendation.
Mark Wachowski.
Mark. EOD Mark. I hope you get up here.
Andrew Burrows.
Andrew. Recovering. I didn't come to work this week. I don't know why, but you owe me a phone call. Remember, I called you back and you didn't. You said you'd call me back.
Christopher Cosman.
Chris, super guy. Chris was here and his wife, they were on a cruise last summer and we got to spend some time with them. Wonderful people.
Philip Gustafson.
Philip Gustafson, right here. Philip came back to be my assistant last year as well, in the original class. Great craftsman, by the way.
Todd Osborne.
Todd. No Michelle? Who's Todd without Michelle?
Charlie Murphy.
Charlie Murphy.
Yeah, EOD from the West Coast.
Oh.
Big wrestler.
Okay. Yes, I do remember.
Mike Lilman down in Florida.
Mike
Lilman.
yeah, I just saw Mike's picture. And Mike. Devin Wright. Devin works with us. So he helps Luther with organizing the vets for the classes. Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else?
That's it.
All right.
Honorable mentions. Sibby's on.
Sibby.
Kent Boys.
Kent. Is Kent still? Kent. I haven't heard from Kent in a while. Yeah. Kent's a board member in the PHP up in Ontario.
And
Thank you, Kent.
Paul Morrison's here.
And Paul? Yeah. And Paul, who recently retired from the Canadian Navy. Paul is also on the board, recent addition to the board member. So is Brent on the Canadian side, helping with fundraising. Great. Okay, Frick, go. That didn't take long. It'd be great to bring all these guys back.
You still awake, Frick?
Yep. Paul Francoeur, Montreal.
Paul.
What type of bandsaw blade do you use / recommend for cutting veneer in regards to TPI, width, and type of teeth?
Probably a little different than most, Paul. When I can, I rip it on the table saw and then just do the finish pass on the bandsaw. I usually keep 1/4-inch bands on our saws because the 1/4-inch will do everything that a 1/2 or a 3/4-inch will do, but the reverse is not true. Now, the only problem is that a 1/4-inch doesn't have the stiffness. So if you're trying to rip through an 8-inch, 10-inch board to slice off a 16th-inch piece of veneer, well, 1/4-inch is not your best choice. But to change the bandsaw, go from one size to another, you got to go in and do a lot of setup, and it's be a bit of a pain. So if you do it my way, which is rip the board, flip it over, and rip it again, and you've got that little section in between, and I'm using a 3/32 thin kerf blade, so that's plenty of room for the bandsaw to go in there without fear of hitting one side or the other, and you can go in and finish that little bit. If you were just going to rip and do it entirely on the bandsaw, then I think you'd want at least a 3/4 inch and as few TPI as you can get, so you got good clearance of the chips. I mean, there's some companies make carbide tipped bandsaw blades specifically for that, and I never had any luck with them. I had two. First one I got, I thought there's something wrong with this thing, and they sent me another one, and I had no better luck, so I'm not a fan of it at all. We buy our blades from Starrett. That what we use exclusively now? Yeah. Starrett blades. Think they're great, no problem with them. We get a lot of life out of them. They're no longer resharpenable. Nobody does that. They're too inexpensive to buy. But if you're going to do some serious ripping of veneer, I would think you'd want a 3/4 blade and 2 or 3 teeth per inch, as low a count as you can get. Next, Rick.
One more guy.
One more who?
Philip Coldwell. The CEO from Dom and John's.
Oh, yeah. Philip. Rick.
Ready?
Yeah.
This is from Steve Scope in Cleveland, Ohio.
Hey, Steve.
He says, "Hi, Rob. What type of floor covering did you put down on your shop floor? Thank you."
This stuff is called coin.
Yeah.
It's what is it? Is it rubber?
Plastic.
It's vinyl, something. Is it? How wide was it?
You can get it in any kind of width.
So it's got a little looks like a coin, a raised coin, and I don't think it has any give at all, but it's got a little bit of traction. Easy to clean, easy to sweep. I don't sweep it very often, but it doesn't. If it gets wet, it's not slippery. So that coin, it must be why they do that. Just get a little bit of traction. We still have to go do a strip along there. So just so you understand why we just have it in a strip. These walls were terribly insulated, and what would happen is the steel building, the warm air would escape through, condense on the cold steel, run down, run out here. When we moved in here, we were pulling up a tile 8 feet out from the wall and had water underneath it. So all of the cement had long since lost its tack. So rather than just rip up the whole thing, as long as you got 8 feet out from the wall, you were okay. So we cleaned that all up, put this stuff down, and then we have a strip over there that we have yet to finish that we probably should someday. But yes, that's what I used. Good. I have no complaints with it. Where did we find out about it? Luther had it in his van. Yeah. Luther told me about it, and it was a good call. Where do you buy it?
Anywhere.
Anywhere. I assume it's vinyl coin, and it goes down with Harold laid it. Didn't Harold do it? I think Harold laid the floor. Just a vinyl flooring adhesive, which is never fun to do. But next, Rick.
It's from Jeff Novak.
Hey, Jeff.
Have you done any videos of proud dovetails, and what do you think of this look?
Have I done any videos of proud dovetails, and what do I think of this look? Yes. We got something here, Jake?
There's a walnut dovetail.
Is there anything finished, though, a project? Just go over and have a look. On that wall. Jake's going to look. We did a video on it. Didn't we do a video on that? I'm sure we did. On YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, RobCosman.com, and you go under the, what is it called, Frick, when they put videos together in a group?
Playlist.
A playlist. Under the dovetail playlist, you'll find it in there. The only, yeah, that's the box. So I did this. I think the date is on here somewhere. This would go back into the 80s, I think. There's no date. I made this in either 88 or 89, so it's been around a long time. And you see how the dovetails are proud? And I left the hinge proud too. So just be forewarned that you have to pre-finish everything. And it's not hard to pre-finish. What it's hard to do is protect it. So you can't plane it after the fact. So this piece and this piece, this piece and this piece all have to be finished before you assemble it. You gotta be really careful. So when I glued it, I found the best luck. Put the joint halfway together and then reach in and glue what you can get access to. If you do it beforehand and you put it together, you're gonna have squeeze out all over here, and that becomes a mess, especially trying to get off those little chamfers. So I cut a little chamfer all the way around all the protruding pieces. And that's gotta be exact, because if you cut the chamfer too deep, it looks like a gap. And you don't want it too shy either. Is it worth the effort? Can you get a close-up going down like that, looking at it like that? It's kind of neat. Would I do it again? No. Too much work.
Luther says we haven't done a video about that.
We haven't?
No.
Oh, well then we will. Because it is a pain. And the glue up is the biggest pain. Now I also did it on my desk that I have upstairs, big ash and cherry desk. I did it on a cedar, a blanket box, a blanket chest that I made. You know, it was a big chest. And that one my kids destroyed over the years. So I had to go in and refinish it. And there's just no way you're gonna refinish around those. So I just planed them off and took it back to being flush. So if it's something that you're gonna have for a long time and it's eventually gonna need to be refinished, don't bother, because you just too much effort, too much work. Next question. I got some stuff I want to show them. By the way, how many people do we have on?
413. There's a question I wanted to correct earlier. I missed a part of it when I was talking about the staples versus pins.
Yeah.
The rest of the question was staples versus pins when building a Cosman workbench.
Oh, yeah, that's a big deal. So what he's referring to is when we do the base on the workbench, and we're using Baltic birch plywood, and it's going together kind of like Lego, and it would be extremely expensive if you tried to buy enough clamps to do it with. So what we do instead is we glue the pieces, and we use a staple gun, a 1/4 inch crown. That means the two legs of the staples are 1/4 inch apart. And you staple all those pieces after they've been glued. You push it. When you do this, you have to make sure, glue, put it in place, push down with the staple gun, count to 1, 2, then pull the trigger. Because you want the staple to hold the two pieces together. If you shoot the staple and they're not together, you'll end up with a gap like that because the staple won't pull the two together. You have to pull them together and then the staple will hold it. So that you definitely want a staple gun. Did I cover all that? Pin nailer would be not satisfactory. That's a new product. That's the 3/4 17-degree chisel. Is that up already?
No.
Will be soon. So, and another question? I'm going to kind of take them in a little different direction, but I'll give them 5 minutes. So let's do some more.
Well, a lot of people would like to get an update on Bo if you have one.
Yeah, I will. I'll give you it right now. So, in case you didn't know, I have 10 children, 6 girls, 4 boys, same wife. The oldest is Frick's wife, who's 38.
Yep.
She is.
No, 39.
No, she's not.
She turned 39 in January.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't. She was born in 87.
Can we edit that part?
Yeah. Frick.
Sorry.
She has 5 boys, and my youngest is Chloe, who's 16. So it goes Chloe, Mitch, who's 18, Bo, who will be 21 next month. So on October 13th, which is Thanksgiving, Bo was in a bad motorcycle accident. Somebody backed out onto the road, clipped him. He and the bike went down, slid underneath the parked car. He broke 15 vertebrae. He fractured his left femur. They took him to the hospital with a piece of tailpipe that they had to cut off the car that went in his groin to his knee, crushed his right ankle. And of course, he spent 8 weeks in ICU, and then December 11th, they moved him to Stan Cassidy Rehab Center in Fredericton, where he's been ever since. So, at the worst of it, he was unable to move anything. He was having to have breathing done for him. He was tube fed. Not good. So where is he today? Well, he can now move both. He can control his biceps, and he can roll his wrists like this. I can actually get him to feed. I can put a grape in here, and he can get it into his mouth. And he's got pretty good mobility with his arms. He just started to be able to. There's a little bit of muscle activity in one of his buttocks. He can now feel from head to toe, except his quadriceps. So we make a big deal about it. We wrap a towel around his head 5 times and say, okay, what are we touching? And he can tell the difference between 1 finger, 2 fingers, anywhere from head to toe, except his quadriceps. So they're hopeful that there's, the information is getting through. Just starting to get a little bit of triceps. That's a big deal, because then he'll be able to position himself in bed. He has to be moved every 2 hours to avoid pressure sores, which the last one took 4 months to get rid of. So, it's hard for him, because I said, you're staring at the same tree 24 hours a day, it's hard to notice the forest. But for someone who only sees him every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, they would see a huge improvement in him. So thank you for your prayers, and it's helping. Bo is coming along. His discharge date is set for April. They may bump that ahead a little bit, because as he has more success, they want to keep working with him. But so last night, either my wife or my daughter or one of my sons or myself spend the night with him. We have a bed right in the same room. Great facility, fantastic nursing staff, just unbelievable. And they love Bo, and Bo loves them. So last night at 1:30 in the morning, we were doing exercises. So they've got this crane that comes across his bed that they use to hoist him to put him into an electric chair. But we moved that over, and then I had hooked up some elastic bands to the foot of his bed that I strapped to his wrist so that he can exercise his biceps with it. And then he wants to work on his lats underneath his arms. So we hook these things up, and he pulls down, and you can do them both at the same time. And anyway, so he's got the desire and the motivation. A friend of mine, Mike Smrek, who is a former NBA basketball player, who suffered a severe injury himself, and when the doctor said you'll never get anything back out of that, and he proved them wrong. So he spoke to Bo the other night. I asked him, some of the vets would remember Mike Smrek, because I used to have Mike come and talk to the vets, because Mike's story was so inspirational about how he beat the odds. They said, you're not going to be able to do this, and he did. And the doctors, he said, they always would just stop short of saying it was a miracle. But anyway, should have him come on some night and tell you a story. It's wow. So yes, thank you. Bo is coming along. We're going to move him in. We've got a room here that a wheelchair accessible room right here that he'll move into, and hopefully won't have to be there long. So let me take one more question, and then I'll show him a little bit what we've been doing.
All right, this one comes from Greg McGowan in Bellefontaine, Ohio.
Hi, Greg.
He says, I'm going to make a quantity of various size wooden hinge boxes to sell at our church this fall to raise money for installing walls in the Central African Republic. All of the box sales will go to this effort. So can you please tell me a reasonable price to charge for a 4x6 by 3 inch wooden hinge box? Thanks for the great channel and your Purple Heart project.
Well, this is a so if I painted a picture and John Robishaw, a friend of mine who's a very good artist, painted a picture, we wouldn't be able to charge the same price. So a lot of, as soon as you step into that art market and get out of the craft market is going to be the low end just because people seem to think that way. And as soon as it crosses over into the art market, then there's no upper limit. So depending on your reputation, if you've got an established reputation of being a great craftsman, then you're going to be able to charge a whole lot more than otherwise. In the beginning, you may have to just look at time and materials. Don't undersell. Even though people don't like to spend too much, they always equate the quality with the price. So if this plane is sold too cheap, then instantly there's something wrong with it. No matter what you tell them, if you're selling this plane for $24, there's something wrong with it. If you're selling it for $240, well, then it must be really good. Do you see the line of thinking? So you can charge too little and hurt your sales. And I knew that from representing Lee Nielsen for 7 years. Price would fluctuate tremendously in Canada because we floated with the dollar. The summer of 2006, the Canadian dollar was worth 10 cents more than the US dollar. So I was selling Lee Nielsen's for less than the US price. So if it was selling for 300 US, I was selling it for 280 something Canadian. Didn't help our sales at all. Yet at times we were selling a number 4.5 that was costing 300 US. The most I ever had to charge was $484. And we couldn't stock them. We could never get as many as we could sell. So you kind of have to go into it thinking that way, that it has value, make sure it's priced accordingly. Sorry, I can't be more specific than that, but without seeing your work or knowing exactly who you are, and even then, what will the market bear? All right, I just want to show you what we've been up to. We, in our online workshop that Jake and I started in 2011, Jake and I and Frick, actually. Frick was the, you were the web guy. You were the cameraman for a while, too.
Yeah.
In fact, you even operated the scrub plane for a short time, didn't you?
Very, very short.
I was sabotaged.
You were sabotaged.
Sharp tools around.
Yes. So we started the online workshop, and we build furniture. So I can look around here, and I can probably point to a dozen things that we've built on the online workshop that are sitting in here. So we're just in the process of building this desk made out of Macassar ebony and fiddleback ash. And in the process of doing it, I had to experiment with a concept I'd never worked with before. Jake, can you direct? And the idea was I wanted to have the grain run side to side. Even though the drawer moves, I wanted the grain on the face to continue here, to continue into there, and to be fluid all the way down. So I ended up taking a little cabinet a poplar cabinet we'd made as part of a class, and converting it and doing it in this English brown oak, and it just kept going from one step to the next. I was only going to do one, and I thought, well, I might as well do two, and after I did two, I said, well, I might as well finish it, and it just kept going, and it ended up being a project. Well, Jake, come back around. So, I really enjoy being in here. I really enjoy this work, but there's things that frustrate me as well. And if you've watched, how many times have I rocked around searching for that stupid measuring tape? Or where did I put my favorite pen down? Or this tool or that tool? And you wouldn't have to be a mathematician to figure out that in the run of a week, you waste an awful lot of time searching for a tool that if it had a home, you'd have saved yourself a whole lot of grief and time. So you see this tool cabinet behind me, trying to constantly make it better, make it more efficient, make my time in the shop more efficient. And by the way, a lot of it has to do with your mood. If you're in a really good mood, you're going to do really good work. Being in a good mood, your mood does not get helped if you're tearing the place apart trying to find something that you can't remember where you put it. So we started over here. I love making drawers, as you can tell, but a drawer is not much good if it just becomes a place, can you see that? Where a bunch of junk gets put, you only see the stuff that's on the top. It's a real hassle to dig it all out and find out what's on the bottom. So I would rather have a drawer that's only a quarter full, but was an organized place to store specific tools, than to have it topped up and inefficient. So this is the first one we did. So this is my dovetail implement drawer. So these are the tools that I use for cutting through dovetails, drawer size through dovetails. And then I have a smaller saw that we use on smaller stuff. So this comes out, see how that's nicely dovetailed? And there's my 3/4 tools. So the difference is the 3/4 Sean Shim, thank you very much, Sean McDermott, my regular Sean Shim. My dovetail marking knife with the 19 thou blade versus the dovetail marking knife with the 24 thou blade. The bigger palette knife for spreading glue, the smaller palette knife for spreading glue. Isn't that neat? And the dovetail marker satisfies both. So that's that. Underneath here, this one just has, oh, where's my bottle of glue? See that? I looked there and there's something missing. There it is. So there's tools that I frequently use. And again, it's only a third full, but at least I know exactly where everything is supposed to be. Now, we didn't do any more of these yet. We came over here. So one of the things I use a ton of is tape. So I made a spot for all the different tapes that I use. That's actually for a hockey stick or cuts. There's our grip tape. There's the masking tape that we use so much, but I thought that would stick there, but it doesn't. So I've got to build this up. So that's pieces of walnut plywood that I cut out, fastened to the bottom. See a moose. Over here are all my drills. So here's the line of thinking. And I'm hoping that this is valuable to you. It is to me. I have yet to tackle this one, but here's where I keep all my drills. It was fun. This is a little cabinet we made in one of the projects. So there's the Forstner bits, but there's a whole bunch of down in there. And just not organized at all. So I'd come over here looking for drills, but I'm working over here. So we put a spot in here for all of our drills. There's our, what do we call these, nominal sizes?
Yeah.
These are our letter drills or number. These are the number drills. So in case you don't understand that, here's your 1/16 of an inch to a 1/2 inch on 1/16 inch increments.
32nd.
32nd inch increments. And then these are called numbered drills. So they fill the spots in between, and you can see the number. So a number 11 is 191 thou. These are letter drills. So these are a quarter below, these are a quarter above, and these sizes correspond with the chart, and it'll tell you, what in thousandths of an inch, what letter or number drill you're going to want. These are all my countersink bits. There's my Forstners. Everything sits in a little spot, so it's there. And then, instead of running over there to get my cordless drill,
All the way over there.
all the way over there, there's my cordless drills. They all have their spot. Usually you need 2. There's my bits. That's my little angle thing, and there's a nut driver, whatever you call it. Down underneath here is my sandpaper. Believe it or not, I use a fair bit. I love this sandpaper. Here's our sanding blocks that fit in a little spot. So instead of, how many times have I gone looking, where did I leave that stupid sanding block? Over here, I got to fit this drawer again because when we put these in, they're a little too wide. This is all my consumables. Stuff that we use on a regular basis that just gets thrown out when you're done. Down here, that one hasn't been done yet. That's going to have our scrapers. Didn't we do one more? Yeah, we did this one here. So this one, so if you look up here, this is not supposed to have anything on it. And it was crowded. And when it gets crowded, I can't open these up because I got to move a bunch of junk first. So I said, okay, I got to have a place to put all this crap. So we made this out of mahogany. We made all of these little spots. There may be no rhyme or reason, but there's a spot for different objects, and I've got enough drawer space that I can make another one of these. This one slides, so you can access all of them without having to remove this. You can remove it if you want to. The bottom ones, what we're doing right now is I'm going to leave these pretty much alone. There's a drawer stop on these, by the way. You just turn it like that, and then the drawer doesn't come all the way out and end up on your foot. So the bottom ones are going to have, I'm going to put in a little strip right here, and there'll just be one of these. It'll have a bottom on it, obviously, and it'll just give you a little more capacity to store some other stuff in. And then once we do that, oh, yeah, well, over here, this is where the whole thing started. Again, everything needs its place. There's my caliper. These are my, who gave me this? Sean. Sean out in
Yeah, it doesn't.
wasn't it Sean out in Oregon?
Portland, yeah.
Yeah. Reference blocks. Harper. Here's my Mitutoyo digital micrometer. Jake changed that, that's why it doesn't fit. Everything's got a spot. I've got to go in, I've got to cut some circles around here because these are too hard to get a hold of. I don't know where that went. And then, again, everything has its place. So, my suggestion to you is, take some of these ideas and do it in your own shop. I call it the extra hour in a day, the extra day in the week, the extra week in the month. It'd be an exaggeration to say the extra month in the year, but boy, you wouldn't have to, if you could actually somehow take the time to figure out how much time do I spend searching and figure out what that runs into a week, you probably gain yourself at least a half a day. The one you're always looking for. Next, Frick. Tell me if you like that. Tell me if you think that's valuable, and I'll do more of it. And tell me when we have more vets to say hello to.
Chris in the chat says, Rob, what is the best way to sharpen your marking knife? I need to sharpen mine, but I've never sharpened such a small area.
Marking knife? Well, what do I use for marking? I actually, little promo here. We sell these. This is called the... what is this? The Tajima marking knife. So this is just a replaceable blade, right? You just break that off, get a new one, which is a lot easier than sharpening. But I understand where you're going with that question. So if you have a knife like this, how are you going to sharpen it? And I don't use this, so it's not been properly prepared. But first thing I would do is go in, I would prepare that back just like a chisel, clean that up, flatten it, and polish it. And then you're going to come over to here. Now, I would probably stick with just the 1000 grit. Nice thing about these is they don't wear. These softer ceramic stones is easy to gouge. But all you have to do is find your primary bevel, and it takes a little bit of a sense of touch. Find your primary bevel, and then just raise up slightly, not much. You're going to put a secondary bevel on there. And don't go far, little tight circles, lots of control. See, if you're going around like this, then you're going to be rocking like that. But if you stay close, little tight circles, you can hold that little angle. Do that until you can detect a burr on the back side. Now, I don't know if I can do it on this side or not. Maybe I can. A lot more comfortable doing it on the other side. Once you get that burr, then come in here and remove that burr. And there you go, you've got your edge back. I don't think there's any reason on a knife like that to go above 1000 grit. It's not like you're using it to pare like you would a chisel. Jake, you can see the little secondary bevel on there. Can they see that? I can rotate it if you need the light. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Sharp. Next, Rick. And then I put it back in with a bunch of metal objects. I never use it.
Jake Province in the chat.
Hey, Jake.
I've ordered a Cosmanized workbench lamp, but I have a 3/4 inch bench dogs. The lamp came with a 1 inch adapter. Can you make a 3/4 inch adapter?
I can. And I occasionally do that. Actually, Al's our mushroom maker, but I'll make a 3/4 one for you. Just get a hold of Gina, tell her what you need, and she'll tell me on Monday. And I'll take one of the 3/4 and turn, I want a 1 inch and turn it down to 3/4. I just want to go back to the vets with our drawer making workshop. Did you give them someplace to contact? What you need to do is contact Gina at
Well,
support.
we're not ready for this though.
Well, I know, but they can submit their name, and then this has to happen ASAP. They can submit their name, identify, say, yeah, I'm interested, and then we'll send them out the information, what they need, and they can, we'll get the ball rolling. That's what you're going to do. Make it perfect. And instead of having you do it and submit it, to be fair, everybody's got to be given the same material, so I'm grading the same.
We'll provide you with the dimensions.
Yeah.
So that you can practice on
Yep.
similar size
Yep,
pieces.
yep.
John Adams in the chat has a question. He says, when cutting Baltic birch, which blade do you use? Crosscut, rip, combination?
So the blade that we most frequently have in our saw is actually a thin kerf rip, 24 teeth. If I'm going to cut a lot of Baltic birch, then I will switch and put in a crosscut blade. Not a fan of combination blades. Combination blade does both jobs, but believe it or not, I think a rip performs well. But if like I said, if I've got a lot of plywood to do and I want it to be as splinter-free as possible, then I will take the time to change out and put a 80 tooth crosscut blade in there. A little bit slower, but it cuts nice and clean. Next, Frick.
Dave Borger in Mifflinville, Pennsylvania.
Hi, Dave.
When
A
applying
lot
a
of
fin-
PA tonight.
When applying a finish to the drawer, do you apply finish to the entire drawer or just the drawer face? If you finish the entire drawer, does the thickness of the finish affect the drawer fit?
Good question. Let me show you what I did. Pardon me. It was my turn to spend the night with Bo last night, and he leaves his computer running all night long. And I got a noisemaker that tries to drown it out, but this has been waxed. So this surface has been sprayed with lacquer, and then all of this surface was waxed. And wax gives it a little bit of protection, and it also improves the slide. This I think what I did with these, if I remember, I usually don't put a finish on the inside. This has a cedar bottom, and you can smell it. I don't want to smell the fumes of a finish. So I don't have anything. Actually, I haven't finished this the way I want. I masking taped it off. Now, when I masking tape it, I mask. Show you. You want your dovetail to stand out with strobe on it so people can see it and say, oh, wow, is he ever good? So when I tape up to spray, I do it like this. You know, when I made this, it was just going to be a practice piece. So I used crappy number 3, number 4 common pine. That's why there are knots in it. And then got into it and decided I wanted to finish it. So I would have used a better material had I been thinking straight. Now, what I'll then do is take, we use paper. We have, what do we call it, Jake? the brown paper over in the shipping room. It's not newsprint. It's heavier than newsprint. What is it?
Well, it's called bogus paper. Bogus paper.
So it's a packing paper. It's a lot heavier than newsprint. So when you're doing stuff like this, it doesn't rip and tear on you. And then I would tape it in place, and then I would take another piece of masking tape and seal it all the way around. Now what I will do is I will spray here, 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 and of course the front. So that the only finish is going to be right on here, and that's just to make the end grain of the pins stand out. If you're going to oil,
Whoa.
what?
I just got a couple vets to mention as well.
You can run, if you're going to oil, you can do the whole thing. But really, I don't like it on the inside because you'll always have a smell of finish. Wax on the outside, wax on the bottom runner, but wax here. I don't wax down in there either, but I will wax the 3 surfaces of the drawer side. And would it affect the finish? Would it affect the fit? I don't think so. What did I do on this one? Didn't even show you this one. There's another example. Oh, okay, so this one was oiled. And this was oiled all the way around. Who you got, Jake?
CJ McIntosh.
CJ.
That was Andy Whitaker's blue chip. And then Wade Jensen.
Wade, that's going, well, Wade, I remember Wade. Just saw his picture
Wade, I
too.
think Wade goes back to May of
2022?
2022, yeah.
Wade, big guy?
Yeah.
I remember.
And then Andy Nichols.
Andy Nichols is on?
That's why I said, wow.
Andy, brother. Wow. I think of you often. So Andy Nichols retired as a lieutenant colonel. His Humvee was hit. The vehicle was blown in the air, came down on its nose. Andy was in our first class. Andy was in a wheelchair. My goodness. It left him legally blind, knocked out his teeth, wrecked his back. Just, wow. Amazed that he's alive. But wow, what a great guy. Andy, I'm so happy to hear from you. I have his picture in my, if you go on the Wall of Heroes on our website, you'll see Andy's picture in there. I think he's standing beside a crater in the ground made by an IED, if I remember correctly. Awesome to hear from you. Anybody else, Jake?
No, that was, well,
Andy Nichols from
Ahmed's
Texas.
here, but he's always.
Who? Ahmed? Ahmed. Ahmed's a good man. He's our wood guy. How you doing, Ahmed? Great craftsman, too. Responsible for one drawer in my tool cabinet over there. Still there. Next, Frank.
Next one comes from Dylan Curtis in the chat.
Wait, stop.
What?
Ferris Butler just signed in.
It wasn't Ferris on earlier?
No.
Ferris Bueller. Ferris does a lot of work for helping vets as well. Howdy, Ferris. Ferris Butler, but Bueller makes everybody knows who Ferris Bueller is. Only other Ferris I knew. What's up, Frick?
Dylan Curtis in the chat says,
Hi, Dylan.
What brand of wood turning tools do you use or prefer?
Well, that's a good question. Kip Christensen, who's a good friend of mine and big supporter of the Purple Heart Project, his nephew by marriage, is he on tonight?
Aaron? Yes.
Aaron? Yeah. Was here in our class a year or so ago. And Kip has his own brand. And so Kip is, Kip's an innovator as well as a incredible wood turner. So he's developed his own line of tools, but we may be carrying them. You'd like them. But aside from that, Henry Taylor is a good name. Sorby's a good name. Anything that craft supplies in the U.S. in Utah used to. I don't know if they still have their own in-house brand or not, but they're good tools. I would just stay away from the Buck Brothers and the old stuff like that that you would find in most school shops. High-speed steel, what you're looking for. Go with those brand names and you can't go wrong. Next, Frick.
All right, this is a funner question. It's from Michael Dodo in Texas.
Hey, Michael.
Rob is a
funner?
What's that?
A funner?
Yeah.
Is funner a word?
It's not woodworking related. Rob is a massive MASH fan and trivia expert. My question is, what character does Rob most identify with, and what MASH characters would Rob compare to the PHP staff?
Okay. Who do I identify with? Colonel Flagg? No. Oh, wow, nobody's asked me that before. Who would I be on there? Would I be Hawkeye? He's a little too liberal for me. Definitely wouldn't be Charles. Hope I'm not Frank. BJ? Nah.
Probably Blake.
Colonel Blake?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could be.
Absent-minded.
I could be a Colonel Blake.
Absent-minded.
Yeah. So who would, well, let's start with Anita. Who would Anita be? She's definitely not, definitely not Igor, because she can cook. Anita would be Jake Conway.
Sergeant Paul Conway.
Sergeant Paul Conway, who was a cook, but ended up carrying a rifle and tripping over everybody all the time. Came to MASH to get healed, and ended up cooking. And he could Shea Conway. He could turn Spam into filet mignon. That was a good episode. So that's who Anita is, because her food is phenomenal. She can makes my mouth water. Who would Luther be? Luther would definitely be Colonel Flagg. No, and seriously, Luther would be Sherm Potter. Jake would be Klinger. No, Jake would have to be Radar. He's the guy that knows where everything is and keeps everything running, kind of in the background. Who would Frick be, Jake? Hot Lips? Houlihan?
No, who's the guy
Nurse Kelly?
in the motor pool that doesn't do anything? Rizzo?
Rizzo. And so when Luther first had the idea for the aprons, I had one, and I was actually Henry Blake. And I had a guy that worked for me, and he had him as Rizzo, and he didn't take kindly to that. Rizzo was a gold bricker.
Your favorite all-time assistant is on Andrew Whitaker.
Andrew. Howdy, brother. Who would Andrew be? Boy, we don't have enough names for all of them. So who are we forgetting? Who else is? Who would Super Dave have been? We got to name Super Dave, and we got to name Kyle. Who would Kyle be?
That one Marine that got a pool ball stuck in his mouth.
That would be Super Dave.
No, that would be.
That was George Wendt from Cheers. So Kyle would be.
Klinger.
Kyle would be. Yeah, Kyle could be Klinger, the later Klinger, not the dress wearing. And Super Dave would be. Super Dave would be. He wouldn't be the antithesis of Charles. He's not Frank.
BJ.
Yeah, he could be BJ Honeycutt. That was a good question. Did I forget anybody that we should have named? I don't think so. Good one. Next, Frick.
This one comes from Jason Summers in Washagal, Washington.
Hey, Jason.
I've always had the goal to one day live in a house where I've made the majority of the furniture. How much of the furniture in your house is made by you, and what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my wife, the first time she bought something that I didn't make, I was not a happy camper. And now we have an IKEA kitchen in my house. Blah. If you want, so I'll just take you through in the kitchen. I made the dining table and all the benches that we eat at. You move into the living room, and I made the bench for the piano bench at the front entrance. Oh no, there used to be. It's not there anymore. It's over here. You go into the bedroom. I made the bed. I made most of the beds, all the chests of drawers. Downstairs, I made the desk. Certainly 80% of the furniture in our house I've made, maybe even higher. Anything that'll last.
Oh.
My wife just gets that. So when you run it as a business, so I moved home from Utah in 1989, started my business. The only reason we had any furniture is because my wife refused to allow me to sell anything the last couple of years in my school. So we brought all that home with us. But trying to earn a living and feed a growing family from the proceeds of working in the shop, there was no time to make anything for us. In fact, I don't even have pictures of most of what I built because I had to get it and get my money for it so I could pay off the material bill for the next job. So that took me up until 1999. I started selling Lee Nielsen tools, and then I was even busier because in addition to still building a little bit of furniture, I was traveling all over Kingdom Come doing wood shows, and yeah. So it wasn't until we started the online workshop that now I was building furniture for a different reason. I was building it to show people how to do it. So now all of a sudden the stuff I was building wasn't being built for someone else, we were keeping it. So as I look in here, even though this is what we call shop furniture, this was one of those projects, that was one of those projects, that was one of those projects, that. I look over there, that. I know you're not seeing what I'm pointing at, but they're all items. That. And then you go out there, I can see another piece over there. So, but in the meantime, my wife got tired of waiting and she would go out and just buy it just to get it. None of my children ever had a crib. Erica slept in a drawer, and the rest of them slept either on the floor.
She still fits in that same drawer.
Or in our bed. Finally built a little tiny bed that a lot of them slept in. There's a little bench around here that I built, a little workbench, miniature workbench I built for Rex. Jake then had it, and my grandkids now play on it. So, typical. Shoemakers' kids have holes in their shoes. Next for it. But yeah, it is, especially if you're doing it as a hobby, it would be great to be able to do all the furniture in your house custom made. I've always had it as a dream to get a bandsaw mill, maybe we will, and cut the tree down, mill it, dry it, and build the furniture from it. I think that would be very fun. Two more?
Two things.
Two things.
One,
One.
going back to the MASH thing, Andrew thinks that Kyle should be ferret face. And two, Angie's on, and you've got a new picture coming.
Ah, hi Angie. So Angie is Ken's cousin. This is Angie right here. And Angie is she's 71 this year. Angie's been confined to her room for a number of years because of an illness that she'll eventually get over, and then she can come back to work. And Angie and her sister Lynn, they do all the packaging for all of our t-shirts. I don't have them up there anymore. All our Purple Heart t-shirts. So when you buy one, it'll be the nicest packaged product we sell. And all because of Angie and Lynn that do that. Big help. And she also, you know what, Jake? We need someone to go through and watch all the episodes and do all that work. That could be she might take that on. Might be calling you, Ange. Frick. Any more vets?
Not the vet person.
No more vets.
Go, Frick.
This one's from Margaret Altvader
Hey, Margaret.
in the chat. She says, "Hey Rob, does the brand of CBN grinding wheel matter? Which is the best or better, or which is the best and better?"
Well, you know what? I had a guy I call every customer, and if you've ordered from us and I haven't called you, you need to contact me. But I try to go through and call every customer on their first order. And Bo is going to have the job because until he gets his hands back, he can do voice command, and when he comes back to work, he'll be calling customers on their 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th, 100th orders. Anyway, I was talking to a customer yesterday about the CBN wheel. He's asking me about it. So Jake developed this. So our CBN wheel is 80 grit, and I'll show you. How come we haven't got it branded, Jake? We do? So our CBN wheel, there's a spot here that on most CBN doesn't have any grit. So we have grit here, we have grit here, and we have grit here. We should get them, make it even bigger, so you can do a flat grind if you want.
You can.
And the 80 grit, because what we use a grinder for is establishing primary bevels on plain blades and chisels. The primary bevel never touches the wood. Its only function is to establish an angle and get metal out of the way so that you can go in and refine the actual cutting edge with your fine stones. So this cuts extremely fast. It weighs probably 7 pounds.
Important to note, we've purchased other CBN wheels, and they typically use aluminum, not steel.
Oh, yeah. So here's the big deal about that. When you're grinding, there's a tremendous amount of heat being generated because of the friction. So on an old grinding wheel, which is a carborundum wheel or whatever they're made out of, they're porous, and which means they didn't hold heat or they didn't absorb any heat. So all the heat went either in the sparks or into the steel. So if I was using a traditional wheel, grinding a primary bevel on this, I would go 1, 2, 3, dip. 1, 2, 3, dip. You wouldn't get more than 3 seconds if you got that much without it overheating. Because this is a big, massive piece of steel, this acts like a heat sink. It draws in the heat. And I could go through and I could completely reestablish that primary bevel without ever having to cool the tool. It wouldn't get any hotter than what I could be able to hold it the entire time. That's the single biggest, well, no, it's not, it's one of the biggest advantages. The other is traditional wheel. Now, I know you asked me about different brands, but I'm first establishing why you want a CBN wheel. You never have to reshape the wheel. You don't lose the corner. It doesn't go out of flat. All of those things are a pain to deal with on a traditional wheel. Nobody should ever use a traditional wheel anymore. There's no advantages. Brand, we have this made to our specs, 80 grit on 3 surfaces, and made out of steel, not aluminum. It works extremely well. If we weren't happy with it, we would have changed. We haven't. That's the one we offer. We offer it in 8-inch and in 6-inch. And we even, those, I don't know enough to talk about what I was going to tell you about. The centering things. What are they, Jake?
Centering?
The things that we sell for centering the wheel.
Oh, you mean the spherical washer sets?
Yeah.
For centering on the hub.
Yeah, whatever. So yeah, get ours. I was going to tell somebody, I was going to make another comment. Speed of cut. Oh yes. I consider a CBN wheel. If you were to say, Rob, with all your experience in woodworking, name some game changers. Game changers are tools that make such a difference that they literally can change the trajectory of your woodworking. I'll give you some examples. The saw stop is a game changer. The saw stop is not only a fantastic saw, extremely precise, but has a safety feature that literally will change the trajectory of your woodworking. I'll go so far as to say in hand tool woodworking, my dovetail saw is a game changer. Why? Because the most critical part, the most critical aspect of a dovetail saw is being able to start the saw exactly where you want it. Not close, exactly. Because if you didn't get the cut where you want it, you're going to end up carving out the rest of it with a chisel. And my little tiny teeth with a negative cutting face on the front enable you to do that. That's a game changer for dovetails. The CBN wheel is a game changer in the shop when it comes to grinding. Fast, cool, and never having to go in and shape the wheel is the first time you've had to go in and use one of those tools to reshape a traditional grinding wheel. You'll run for one of those. Wow. I took that one and ran with it, didn't I? Next, Rick.
Wait, I got the next question.
What?
We've had a couple of the vets ask for this advanced drawer making workshop. In the event that they are selected, and please keep this answer short. Will they have to bring their own tools, or will there be tools here to use?
No, they'll bring their own tools. This is an advanced course. You want tools that you have tuned up. You bring your own tools. We'll help you with that. Don't worry about it. Now there will be some new tools. You'd have to cut the groove in the drawer bottom. We have those. You won't have to worry about that. What other tools can you think of? Oh, I make a special sanding block for doing the inside of the cabinet. We have all of those. So you'll just need to bring the tools that you've been given. That's all you'll need. And I like that positive thinking of, I'm going to be accepted, so I need to ask this question. That's good. Next, Rick. Hey, does anybody know how we're doing with
Only at 6.
6? So we need 4. We need 4 more reoccurring payments, and they can be as little as how much? Talk to me.
$10, I think.
As little as $10 a month to a maximum of $4 million. And that $10 a month would be a $120 donation for a year. Get us up to 10 so we can give away a saw or a plane or something. In fact, if we get 10 tonight, we will give away a 5.5, all dressed up, ready to go.
That would be a Wood River 5.5.
Wood River 5.5. Can I do a drive-by?
No.
Why not? A real quick one. Just a fast one. Just a fast drive-by. Keep talking, Frick. Which knob did you put on, Jake? So if I drove by like this really fast, you wouldn't see it to know much about it. Did they see it?
No.
No questions. They didn't see it?
Yeah, they did.
Keep going. Next question.
This is from Michael Miller. Michael
Mike.
from Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, hi, Mike.
Stanley plane number 55 with cutters for cutting profiles. Yay or nay?
Well, so Stanley made a 45 and a 55. And what's interesting is, I don't even know how many parts there are, but there'd be over 50 pieces in this box. And I don't know how long it's been since they've made them. I'm going to say it's they stopped before 1970, although I don't know that for sure. But you can still buy the complete set, in some cases never used. The guy would buy it, get it home. The book is about that thick. And I can just see him looking at it saying, I'll tackle that later. And it never gets to it, and it never gets used. So, if the price was right, yeah, I'd buy it and play with it. But I bought a Stanley dowel maker, an old dowel maker. It's sitting over there in the cupboard. I was all excited about it. It's got all the cutters for the different diameter dowels, and I still haven't gotten to it. So, how much we actually use it, I don't know. But try it. Try it and tell me what you think. Next, Rick.
I'm running out here. I'm running out here.
Are you?
Tim from Rhode Island.
Hey, Tim.
I'm looking to add a leg vise to my bench. Do you have any experience with wooden vise screws? Would you use it for a leg vise or stick with metal?
Not a fan of a leg vise. Not that you shouldn't use it. But I don't like anything underneath there. I don't like anything in my way. Yeah. Wooden screws. I'm trying to formulate this answer so that it makes sense. if I would rather, for something like that, personally, I would rather buy something that's ready to be used than to have to go make something for that particular role. Now, you'd say, well, Rob, why don't you use metal drawer guides? It'd be a lot quicker than fitting a drawer to a hole. Well, that's my thing. For the same reason I don't use metal drawer guides, but I wouldn't go out and bother to take the time to make a wooden screw and nut when I can buy a metal one that works probably better, certainly more durable, and I get the job done. But that's not much of an answer, but I would go with the metal over the wood. Now our stuff, although it's not going to fit to yours, is we use a double start thread. So what that means is where normally you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rotations to move an inch, this one does it in 2. 1, 2, you move an inch. And since you're usually using no more than 2 inches in here, you're not very many turns away from getting where you need to be. So look for that if you can find it, a double start thread. Next, Frick.
This is from Dan Patton in Fall River, Nova Scotia.
Hey, Dan.
I have
Close by.
experience with several Type Bond and Gorilla Glues. Have you found one that you're most fond of? I just bought the Ultimate Type Bond and find it extremely runny.
Say that again, please. I didn't hear the first part.
I have experimented with several Type Bond and Gorilla Glues.
Yeah.
Have you found one that you're most fond of? I just bought the Ultimate Type Bond and find it extremely runny.
Yeah, actually, I just picked up a bottle. Here it is right here. I just bought it today. So when you do go to this hardware store and you buy a bottle of glue, get the one in the back, because this stuff does have a shelf life. So this is my favorite, Type Bond 3. When it's fresh, it is runny, and that's how you know when it's getting old, because it starts to get thicker. You want to use it when it's thick. It loses its tack. It's waterproof, not for building a boat, but it stands up to outdoor, not constant immersion, but outside. So that's a bonus. That's a bonus without any negative. They claimed it has a little more open time. I don't believe that. So of the polyvinyl acetates and aliphatic resins, white glues and yellow glues, this one is my favorite. Something else you should know too is that aliphatic resin, the yellow glues, they lose most of their strength at about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. I found that out the hard way. and there's places in the country where a piece of furniture in a sitting room with windows to the sun could easily reach 120 degrees. So take that into account when you're looking for your glue. Next, Rick.
Joe Bright says,
Joseph,
I'm just about to read that.
were you?
Go ahead.
I'm sure you.
fight over it, boys.
No, it's all right. He wants to speak.
What are your thoughts on restoring and using old wooden planes, such as profiled edges or hills and round planes?
Well, I have a whole bunch of them over here, and I think they're cool. I just said to Luther the other day, some guy dropped off a bunch of old planes that his grandfather or his father had, and I thought, you know what we should do? Probably do a video on restoring one. So it's a rabbeting or a rebating plane with a skew blade. We're gonna go and fix it. But I don't use them all, Joe, but I use, like, here's one that I made. No, I made a lot of these, but I have where's the one I made, Jake, for the, of course I can't find it.
The one you made for the bottom of the...
No, the one I made that cuts a, this one. Can you see that? Cuts a bead. And that's really cool. That's fun to use. I'll demonstrate. So let me get a piece of wood. Can you come in?
The small woodlot wants to know how old your oldest tool is. And I said that Frick was born in 1985, so whatever that makes him.
That's a good one. I'll give you that one.
Now, isn't that cool? Isn't that so much more fun than a router? That's why I like it. And if it's a sharp blade, you don't have to sand it. It's done. The oldest.
Well, just a sec. But Joe's question was restoring.
Oh, restoring.
Yeah, he said restoring and using.
The only problem is that a lot of times they've sat in somebody's basement and they're all cracked and twisted. The one that I'm going to fix is. If it's salvageable and if the blade is decent, why not? It's always worth playing around with. The oldest tool in my tool cabinet that I look at, so if I if I look over here,
Well, let's say oldest that you use too.
that I use, there's nothing over here that's any more than 25 years old. There's nothing here that's anywhere near that. Nothing there that's anywhere near that. I come over here, nothing, 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 nothing. I come in here, and there's nothing. Oh, this draw knife. I got that draw knife at BYU, and they brought it in for a workshop with Michael Dunbar in about 1979, early 80s. So that's not that old. No, that wouldn't be that much older either. That much older. I don't have, tools that
Probably your levels.
Yeah.
Levels, Jerry.
Levels. That Yankee drill would probably be, where'd I get that?
Actually,
Yeah. When I say old, I'm thinking pre-World War II. So as I look around, those braces, would they be at least that old? I look in here, that Stanley level would probably be
that's a stare.
That's a Starrett?
Yeah.
Well, based on the scroll work on it, that's probably 80 plus years old. I look in here, that I actually use. Probably the oldest, probably the oldest thing I use would be one of those levels, and I don't use them very often. So I don't think there's any really old tools. No. I mean, if Jake ever brings me back the piece that's missing off of that chamfer plane, that would date back into the early part of the last century. I guess I'm not an old tool guy. That I have the Stanley number 50 and 51, which is their shooting plane and shooting board made out of metal. But you know what? Now this may be the reason. So I'm teaching, and people watch what I do and buy the tools that I have, or think they need the tools that I have. So I'm aware of that. So don't stand in front of a group and say, this is how I do this is how you can do it. Well, you're using a tool that they don't have access to. So that's the reason why we tend to use only tools that we can provide you with. Or say that a different way. We use tools that you have access to, so that you can do everything I do. And I always tell people, I say, when it comes to learning dovetails or anything else that I do, get the tools that I use and then just do exactly what I do. And then you're not having to modify what I do to suit the tools that you're having, which may or may not work, but I can't guarantee it. I can guarantee that if you have my saw and you do it the same way I do it, you will get the same results. And we prove that every time we have a class. Next, Frank.
I'm out.
You're out?
Jake, do you have another one?
Has Luther been sending you questions?
No, Luther's been answering questions. If he's answering them correctly, I have no idea, but he's at least been answering them.
How did we do with our?
We did hit 10.
We did?
Yay.
Good. So we get to give something away. Well, it was with a couple of dead cat sweaters. Any questions about? I hope you guys are pumped on this. I am so looking forward to this class. This is going to be one for the books. And I hope we can do 2 the next year. And possibly even add an advanced. This is going to be an intermediate, and we're going to have an advanced. So, yeah, start practicing your half blinds and your through dovetails. Learn to read your measuring tape or your square or whatever it is. All that counts. This is my idea. We need to bring in 12 people that at least hit this level so that we can get this done. If we bring in 12 people and 3 of them haven't cut a dovetail in the last 4 years, how are we going to progress? So the idea is that you've gone home and you've continued to work. Prove it to me by producing something like this. So when we look at it, I say, wow, this guy deserves to be here. And if you don't think your skills are there, you got time to practice. If you don't make it this year, next year. I look at Danny Bell. How many times did Danny apply to come to the PHP?
8.
8? It wasn't 8. I think Danny got in on his 4th time that he applied. And Danny was certainly deserving of being here. But just happened to apply when there was a lot of other busted up people. So, John Hayes, practicing those dovetails, brother. John's works right here, by the way. Imagine doing work like that with your left hand because your right arm was blown up, missing both your legs, and you're doing it from a wheelchair. And he pulls off that. That's a miraculous joint. And Charlie over here. And Omar. I didn't hear from Omar. Shoot, I hope we got the notice out to Omar. I got to go back through and make sure everybody got this notice. All right, let's any final questions, Frick?
No, let's do the draw.
Nobody wanted to have another drive-by of the plane?
No. None of them.
I tried.
Are we ready?
Oh, hey, by the way, I should mention, we have a sale going on right now. This is the first ever. Huh?
Yeah.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We have 20 different chisels. IBC chisels that we do all the rest of the manufacturing here. And they are currently on sale. This is only for a week. We've never done a 20% sale on our chisels. If you buy 1 to 5, 4, you get 15% off. If you buy 5 or above, you get 20% off. That's a big deal. And that includes the mortise chisels, the half blind, the 2 half blind chisels, the 17-degree chisels. Why didn't we did this and we didn't even have the 17-degree,
That's okay.
the 3/4 released. And all the bench chisels, including we have 16th, 8th, 3/16 quarter. Now, just let me give you an example of where the 3/16 went. So I made this yesterday. This is going to be the tray that goes in the bottom drawer. But it's made out of 3/8 stock. So at the base of those tails, you can't get a 1/4-inch chisel in there. But a 3/16 worked perfectly. If you go with an 1/8, wow, it's such a small surface that it's hard to keep it registered, hard to feel when it's in the line. So the 3/16 saved my bacon on that one. Anyway, chisels are there. Chisels are up for sale. Help yourself. I think we have lots.
Yeah.
And even if we sell out, we'll send them to them anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's no limit. Don't have to worry about losing out on it. And the sale goes until
Saturday.
a week. You got a week to beg, plead, and cajole to get some money freed up from the boss so you can buy yourself some chisels.
Enough of them begged and pleaded that they would like one more drive-by.
Oh, one more drive-by?
They said to make it look
How
like
slow?
Make it look like you're going over the ocean waves.
So this is a plane that will be coming near you that you could use in the ocean because it won't rust. And it's going to have some pretty dandy features on there. Jake's been working on this plane for how long?
Nigh unto 20 years.
3 years?
Oh, at least.
3 years or 4 years? And we're really close. Close enough that we've actually tried it, been able to use it. Big thank you to Chris Davenport. We'll give you more on that in the very near future. But And yes, a 5.5. And there's a very special story about what it's going to be called. And we'll save that for our big introduction. Okay, Frick, let's do a draw.
Let's
Let's give away 2 dead cats. Dead cat sweaters are the most comfortable and lightest sweater that you'll ever have.
Where am I? Oh, here we go.
Thank you.
Two of them?
2, yeah. Oh, no, 3. We usually give away 3, don't we, Jake?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
3. Who's the first one going to?
First one is going to, actually, I drew all 3 at once. First one is Rex Brown in Missouri.
Rex, congratulations. Make sure you tell Gina what size you want.
Yep, support at RobCosman.com there. It's on the screen. Second winner is Paul Welchel in Texas.
Paul in Texas.
And
Might
number
be a
3,
little warm in the summer.
Number 3 is Bob Cunningham in Virginia.
Bob in Virginia. Well, that sounds awful familiar. And Virginia, you'll get 8 months of use out of it every year. Now, we have enough to give away.
Yeah, 1.
Okay. So we don't do this very often, and I can bypass our rules because it's a gift. So this is going to be for a Wood River 5.5 that Rick Irvin does these for us. Soles are flattened, sides are squared, drilled. You have to let us know with your right hand or left hand. Drilled for the grip, which is the device that Jake developed for use in the shooting board. Fits on the side like that so that you have a way to control it. It'll come with the adjustar standard. It'll come with the 3/16 hex drive screws on all there, so it's so much easier to use. It'll be sharpened, tuned up, and ready to go. That's a big one. Could go anywhere in the world. Where's it going, Frick?
Give me 1 second here. All right, here we go.
And you had your seat, I hope.
Paul Testoni in East Greenwich, Rhode Island.
Hey, Paul. Congratulations. You'll love it. I'll close out by just saying this real quick. Thank you to John in Florida for helping me pull this off. In October 6th of this year, we will have our intermediate drawer making workshop. It'll be for 12 combat wounded vets, and we're going to allow 2 civilians. I think 1 spot is already filled, so there may be 1 spot only for that class. For the vets, you had to have been to our class. You have to be a PHP alumni because you have to come with an assumed base level of knowledge. You will, if you're interested, let us know. You'll send us $25 and we will send you 4 pieces of wood. 2 pieces of poplar, already thicknessed, flattened and dimensioned, but it'll be a random width, random length, that's up to you. And 2 pieces of walnut, 1 for the front, 1 for the back. Thicknessed, flat and thicknessed, but random width, random length, that's up to you. You will cut half blinds in the front, through dovetails in the back. It has to be square. The finish has to come right from the hand plane, no sanding, I can tell. And don't worry about a drawer bottom groove, that's not a problem. We'll give you a few directions on everything, but you'll submit it. We will take the top 12 that come in, and thank you to John. We will cover your transportation, your accommodations, you'll stay right here on site, your meals, the tuition for the class, including all the materials. All you have to do is show up with your tools that we've already given you, and be prepared for an awesome week. I promise you it'll be the best vacation you've ever had, but it'll be a long one. Normally in a class we have everybody introduces himself, which often takes 8 hours during the week. Well, we won't need that, so we'll have lots of time to work. We'll probably start at 7 in the morning. We may go past 10 o'clock at night. We will get it done. It's going to be a blast. Thank you to Santa Claus, huge supporter, what really got me started on this whole path. And because of him, 5 weeks ago, we had the biggest fundraiser we've ever had. Raised $185,200. And 2 Johns, John in Florida 1, John in Florida 2, were a part of that. John in Florida, the other John in Florida is the reason why we're going to be able to do this. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it. It does wonders for these guys. You hear it from them when they have a chance to talk and tell you their story. Okay, we done?
We are done.
Or did you already shut me off and I was talking to nobody?
Don't.
Thank you, Frick. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Luther. Thank you, Ken. I think Ken might be on as well. See you in 2 weeks. Take care.